Thank you very much that you are still with us in the room, and I hope many of you will watch this video as well. So that is the fourth panel, very interesting panel, I think, because we have so many discussion about ethical, technical, and also theoretical discussion about AI. And I just would like to say Vilma was very nice when she mentioned the three bubbles, that the three bubbles has to talk to each other. Otherwise, there is no ethical or security in artificial intelligence. And this is the last panel that we have at this moment, ethical and security issues. And I am very pleased to say our panelists that they are here with us, Várfi András and Dr. Vajda Viktor, who will say something about this very interesting subject. So I would like to ask you, both of you, to introduce yourself and talk about your job and your ideas. What does it mean for you before you will introduce your part of this subject?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. This is a great honor to be here once again after the last year's very interesting conference. And the good news is that we still have AI in our capable hands. And I do hope that during the next couple of years, I can still say that we'll be in control. And this refers to my job as being the Deputy CEO of Neumann Technology Platform, or Neumann Nonprofit Ltd., which is a technology background institution of Ministry for National Economy of Hungary. And our activity is to operate the Hungarian AI coalition and support the job of the ministry in lawmaking and policymaking. And we can humbly say that we've been touching on the issues of AI Act for a while, and we have some challenges on the table, and I'd like to discuss it with you today.
Thank you very much. And András, please.
So thank you for the opportunity, and here we go again. As the last years, I was always the pessimistic part of the symposium because some of you may know I came from a hacker background, and I always like to highlight the dark side of the power, because we know that AI is here, AI is very good, it shapes our everyday life, but we don't really think about that things maybe can go wrong. Maybe not just think about the bad guys and the hackers, but what if we over rely on AI? Everybody says that we are go stupid, etc. I don't really believe that's true, because we are also evolving. But if we over rely today, and what I feel is that we don't really understand how to use AI to enhance ourselves, and we just rely on it and believe everything that it gives, it can be a problem. And my key highlights were also an example of this, but I think there are a lot of analogy to this example. So I'm very pleased to talk about this topic with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that is very important to talk about trust. We need to trust. Can we trust in AI? And also the safety. There is safety. We have education, just a panel before, and the teachers, educators, they were talking about it. I think we need to learn also to teach the kids who are very young. And I think we should be, as adults, ethical and security issues to know everything about it to save our children. So now I would like to ask you, dear Victor, to show what do you think about this?
I have a few slides on this as a general outline, if I may present it so. Thank you for the technical support. So, shall I stand here or the other? If this is fine, I may stay here. So, basically, I'd like to be provocative, if you let me be so. We say that there are no facts, only algorithmic opinions. This might not be true at the time being, but it might become reality. And we say that fairness is a fiction, and then bias is the product. What do I mean? We underestimate the relevance of clear training data. If you use biased data in the past, this will represent itself in the present and the future. And we all know that the AI has already consumed all the natural data. It has read all the libraries, and now it hungers scientific fake data, which is synthetic data, so produced for feeding AI. If we use those data in not a clear manner, if it's biased, then we will get fake results which are deterring society, and then AI will be not for our benefit, but it will hinder us in prosperity. My other provocative sentence is that we live in a consent theater. As a lawyer, I do know, and I do admit that sometimes we draft long contracts and long statements to be accepted when you visit a web page. But please be honest and raise your hands if you have read all those statements every single time when you click that I've read it and I agree. I think we all know that sometimes we don't have the time to do so, even if we are proud of being diligent. We skip those and go forward. But it can still happen that the AI is scraping, collecting sensitive personal data in the background, which is a huge danger. So the reality of surveillance is a delusion, but we have to tackle this, and we have to be keen on making and building systems which have data protection by design and default. The third provocative problem is the black box problem. I'm not sure if we have the majority of developers here in the room, but sometimes I hear it from developers that we don't know why the outcome is so. It's just the algorithm which brought it on the table. It's not enough. If we don't see the result, the traces of the result, if you can't trace it back, there's no legitimacy behind the final result. That cannot be treated as an evidence. So that's just a suggestion at its best. So the black box phenomena is something that we should solve as a problem, and that must be a criteria for every AI system to be transparent. We have to be able to audit them, and then that's the safe word, living together with AI. The next provocative sentence is, it's raising the question of responsibility. You might all know that there's no specific electronic personality for AI systems now. It's a decision for the lawmakers, by the lawmakers, and currently the AI systems have no responsibility and no personality. Then who's responsible? The developer? The seller? The user? These questions are not clear nowadays, and unfortunately the European Union has opted out from making a special type of legislation for AI responsibility issues. The so-called AI Liability Directive, which was proposed back in September 2022, is off the table. So now we have the old regimes of tort law And the damage claims are to be assessed with all the civil code regulations which we might be familiar with, but which are not tailored to AI risk questions. So the question of responsibility will be a key issue, and I don't want to be more provocative than I should be, but I think that when it comes to money, everybody will focus on it. And last but not least, are we living in a world of deepfake? I'm asking you. Some experts say that in 24 months, you won't ever be able to detect if you see something which is real or custom-made, or produced by AI, which means that you won't be able to make any differentiation between truth and something which you just see as a version of the true word. Who remembers the Cambridge Analytica case back in 2016? There were, at least the analysis says that that was a huge effort to make it through. Nowadays, you don't need that anymore. Deepfake technology and the use of AI in such a way avails you the opportunity to convince everybody, whether it's be a simple question of which washing machine should I buy or which political party should I support. So it's really a huge danger. So thank you for your separate attention, and I can't wait to discuss these challenges with you.
Oh, thank you very much. I think that is a good question for everyone. So my question, if I would see myself on the video, but it's not me, to whom I can talk?
According to the AI Act, it shall be this type of video representing you in a so-called avatar. It shall represent or tell you somehow that it's not the real you, but an avatar of you. It's an obligation. Should it be missed, then you can always turn to the court. But first of all, you have to stipulate who created that video. Then you can search the metadata. Now we are turning to technological issues, so probably my dear panelist is more expert on this. But as you see, it won't be an easy job to go through the process.
Thank you very much. So let's see the second panelist, what he would like to share with us, and then we can have open questions. Thank you very much. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I did not prepare any PPT for you today, so just my tales and etc. So, but it is very good to speak after you, because I found a lot of topics that I have similar opinion and similar problems. So just back into this responsibility thing. In a hacker's eyes or in attacker perspective, AI is just another system that can be break, and sometimes it is very, very easy. You don't really need very complex technical stuffs to start hacking it or compromise it. So yeah, I prepared an example, AI in military, because in last years everybody asked me about military and war. So this year I prepared with this topic. But I think a lot of similar things or topics can be analogous to this. Just think about medical devices or etc., where human lives at stake. So, and this is not a dystopia. This is kind of a present, because AI is getting more and more foot in military and medical also. So, just think about an imaginary situation. There is an AI that basically drives a system where the military organize their fuel routes or army routing, etc. So basically the whole supply chain of a war. And even there are AIs to detect if something is wrong. Maybe there is an attack, there are surveillance cameras, etc. So I think we can all agree that this is a task that an AI, or we can think that an AI could do better than us. Okay, but what happens if this war is lost before even the first shot? Because this war is lost on the bits. Somebody just compromise our organization AI, and then it just make bad recommendations or bad decisions. Maybe it even triggers a counterattack or etc. So it can lead to escalations. And we can see that we just, what we did now, we over-rely on our AI and let it make their own decision. And the problem is, as you said, opacity. We don't really know how it works. It is basically a black box on a technical side also. It's not just a problem because it is very hard to trace responsibility. Because if this AI makes an attack move and it escalates a war, who is responsible? The commander, or the engineer, or the hacker who compromised it? Who is responsible for this escalation? It is very hard to decide. But the real problem is, because it's a black box, if it's compromised, it can go unnoticed for a long time. You don't know if it's compromised. Maybe it makes false recommendations or false decisions on purpose because it's haywired by a hacker. And because you don't really know what happens under the hood, then it can go for a very long time unnoticed. So it is a very, very big problem. And I think it's very similar in a lot of cases. But I may be the black sheep of this symposium because everybody talks about how great is AI, how it will shape our bright future. I always try to be more rational and say that don't over-rely on it and be aware that it is also just a system that can be hacked. And about trust. There is a saying, an old Russian saying, trust but verify. This is one of the key concepts in security. You can trust it, but always verify. If it's under the hood and it is black box, it is very, very hard to verify. So be cautious.
Thank you very much. I think we have so many questions of both of you. Please.
Until you raise your hands, it came to my mind that we know a person called Oliver Cromwell who said that trust in God, but keep the gunpowder dry. Then this is basically the same.
Yeah, that's an old wisdom.
This is very, very interesting because we do live in a sort of dystopian world when it comes to the darker realities of what AI is able to do and what not. And of course, we all know that there are parties at the very moment working on AI factories, trying to sabotage AI factories, flooding the zone with you know what. And these factories do exist, the data centers exist, and we're learning at the very moment that there are deviations in the outcomes of AI-related predictions, as far as we can tell. So nobody would be bold enough to trust in such an analysis without validation. The funny question is, and that of course is my question to you, is what is the way forward? because there are adversary powers who are using AI, of course, to professionalize their drone formations, routes of advance. You said it. So, of course, Europe doesn't want to become a victim. But what is the way out of it?
Now, this is the big challenge, I think, because it is not very straightforward. There are big wins or small wins in this game, but I think the lowest hanging fruit, and I'm not sure, it's just my hope that it can work, because as in the case in security, a lot of time awareness is a big factor on this. How we use, do we have the need in ourselves to verify it for ourselves? Can we change our mindset to be less careless in question of AI? So how we use it, what we do to be able to verify the results and not trust in it blindly. This is one factor, and the other is on the technical side, because now what is the goal of the developers of the AI? They wanted to make the smartest guy in the room. And just like every protocol, because we know time does not repeat itself, but humans always. So when there is a new protocol or new technology, security always comes last. And always the functionality, it must be more efficient, we must be the fastest to develop it to the maximum, and security always lag after that. So I hope that this security will also come into protecting these models and datasets and make it harder, not impossible, but harder for attackers to compromise it. It's just my feeling, but a very, very good challenge and good question.
From a policy side, if I may reframe your remark, in a way that we shall protect AI factories, or let's say data centers, just like atomic power plants, then I do agree. And not just in attacks by drones, but at the technical security level, it's also true. But how can we draw advantage from AI if we fulfill some needs? And I said trustworthy training data, but we also need GPU capacity. We also need funding, clear legislation, we need knowledge, so AI literacy, but we need computing power. And we are already lacking computing power. That's why the large language models, or at least the platforms, are becoming slow at the end of the day, or at a Sunday evening when nobody has better things to do than just chatting with the LLM. Then it becomes slow because it becomes exhausted. And therefore, we need power. And fortunately, we have some programs at EU level and at domestic level as well, which fulfill those needs. I mean, to have AI factories all across Europe is a great goal. It costs a lot of money. And until the point of which every nation has its own AI factory, we still need connection. Just imagine, if we had to wait 2 more years until we build our own supercomputer, our own AI factory, that by 2027 we could have already being among the losers, because in the meantime everybody evolves so much until we wait for our supercomputer to come true that we lose the race. So what can we do? We should build an antenna for the already existing high-performance computing capacities, and this is called the AI Factory Program. And I'm happy to say that a great consortium is applying for that in Hungary with the ELTE University, with the Hungarian Chamber of Commerce and also the Hungarian Research Network. And my humble institution, the Neumann Nonprofit Ltd, is also taking part in that consortium. And we are aiming to connect the German Jülich computer having 800 petaflops capacity, which avails us the opportunity to stay in the race for the next 1 or 2 years until Hungary builds its own supercomputer.
Thank you very much. I think we need it. It was another question. Yes. Everybody else? Vilma? No question.
Then maybe I have just one remark, because what I feel about this AI factory is kind of, as you said, we need it. So we are building a big AI network across Europe, just like water, electricity. So maybe AI is getting as important as water or electricity or internet. It is a very, very interesting thing, because, as I said, I don't really feel that we already understand how to use it for our benefit. This is one thing. And because this panel is not just about security, but ethics, there will be a lot of differences between the different layers of the population. Somebody will have access to AI and somebody will not. I think that could lead to a big dilemma, because in maybe 10 years before, Google was the definition of ever-knowing and all-knowing stuff. But now we have basically all the knowledge on our pocket, and etc. I think it is a very big power right now, and I cannot do anything but to feel that there is a very big risk in this. Who will control the data? Who will control the model? And who will distribute it ethically? Do you have something, vision, or how do you feel how it will go about?
It's beyond any question that AI is reshaping our society, and sometimes it's a critic that the legislation just lags behind the technology. I think that it's not a problem on its own. The problem is that we try to solve one challenge, but the next day 3 other comes. And what you were talking about wisely is the biggest challenge against the notion of fair and equal treatment. We do want AI not to discriminate anybody. If we use a system which helps us to evaluate the CVs, when people applying to a job, then it's tons of papers, and it's really a useful tool. But we do not have to let AI to make the decision instead of us. It just helps people. This is on one hand the notion that to be treated as fair and equal. I, as a human, I want that people make the decision over me. I don't want a machine to make a decision about my future. But on the other hand, how to handle the discrepancies, the different level of encouragement and knowledge in society, this is something that we haven't figured out yet. The need for raising awareness and raising AI literacy in a proportionate manner is of paramount importance, but the concrete manner on how to do so is something to be laid down, and it's not clear yet how to achieve those goals.
Thank you very much. I think this is also very big question in the future. And I know this is not exactly this, but I will go to Tanzania on Monday. And my friend, they are saying, is a big election end of October, and at 11 of October there is no Wi-Fi, no nothing, so no communication on the world. Why is that?
Probably they are happy people without Wi-Fi.
Because I think this is also very strange if we are in the world that we are connected to everywhere, and I have no chance, at least, to call Hungary, for example.
Shall it be a basic right to access internet? It's a good question. And if I may connect it with deepfake, I think the personal connections will be much more valued in the near future, because there's also a phrase that only what touches real, and it becomes much more the reality in the near future, I think. Even though I trust that our systems will be trustworthy and can be audited, but I do believe in a future when AI works for us and not instead of us. So it won't take our jobs, but we will become more productive. And if we need Wi-Fi or any connection to act so, then it might be getting closer to a basic right, but we should not forget about our core values in valuing each other as human beings. And this is the part of the ethics relation of our panel. I think this is of paramount importance to treat each other more valuable than the machine, even if it can talk to us just like human beings. That's also a delusion. So a psychologist in the framework of a human being is always much more trustworthy, because it has the own responsibility. When the AI talks to me, it might say anything. It might hallucinate something which sends me to a wrong direction. I think that's very important to feel each other in society, and AI shall remain a very useful tool.
Thank you. And you have a question, Johannes?
Absolutely. I mean, there is always more than one perspective to it. And and I believe you're perfectly right that these questions about the standards, equal right to access to information, quality of information, that remains open. But there are indeedly a few attempts to go in that direction. For example, we have been building the last 2 years an agrarian data platform for the German government. The government failed, then tumbled over, and it wasn't put in use in Germany. But it was introduced then to the United Nations, and they loved it, and so it's piloted in India now. So more than 1,000 startups who are doing AI-based drone flights, insect recognition, pesticide control, and are using it at the very moment. So as we speak, the United Nations have formed a work group in order to understand how do we ensure access, that the farmers out in the ground can have access to these informations. So, and funnily enough, the Indian government is very much interested, because of course 1.4 billion people, you need to feed them, that is a challenge. So they are very much interested to have a democratic platform where people can and will access the data. And the work group that has been established is working now on a concept of how can it go to India, which is a very large pilot, and what do we do with Africa, funnily enough, because internet coverage, right? You know all the problems. So that will be the next challenge. So no, there might not be a final answer to that, but there is a lot of people who are trying to do good with it and who try to bring the cases forward in an ethical way.
I shall agree that there's no way to ban technology as such, but we need a guideline. And fortunately, we have those guidelines around the corner or already on the table. Let me mention the General Purpose AI Code of Practice, which is a product of the European Commission and was finally signed by Google as well, just to mention one. There might be some concerns, and I think we all agree that only God can create something perfect. So every creature by humanity is something to be subject to further development. But I think we shall start somewhere. So a code of practice, which is not a piece of black letter law, but something which has a broader concept, is a good starting point.
Thank you.
Thank you for these presentations. I really enjoyed and appreciated them because I think they really highlight some of the very profound questions that we're all facing. Indeed, on the more concerning side, how do we tackle these challenges? I like very much, for instance, or intrigued rather, I was with your first slide that said fairness is a fiction and bias is the product. And I think this is exactly what we see in so many instances that through the various search engines, of course, all our kind of information about the world gets us more biased. There are tons of studies that show, how much we're kind of geared towards developing, profound biases just by, going through basic news. So my question would be to both of you, because you have a great experience, is, what would you see as kind of a real success in the next 3 to 5 years that you would think, if we or either Hungary, because you have Mr. Vajda, you have a special responsibility for developing a Hungarian regulatory logic or framework for these questions or contributing to this. And András is in terms of a company that is based on an experience on the dangers on the black side of hacking. Is what would you see as a success professionally that you would kind of like to see in 3 to 5 years?
I shall humbly agree with the goals of the renewed Hungarian national AI strategy, the 2.0 version. The first one was issued back in 2020 when AI Act was not ready, just under construction or in theory. I may raise 3 goals. First, let's reach by 2030 at least the number of 2.5 million people who are already trained for AI. So let's have 2.5 million Hungarian citizens who are AI ready. Second, let's have an own AI factory. This is important. This is a question of sovereignty as well and the ability to cooperate with other nations. And last but not least, this might seem or sound like a dream, but reach or approach towards 100% data transparency. We should not say that 90% is enough. I know that 100% is something which is hard to achieve, but this should be the goal.
Okay, and from my side, as I said, for me, awareness is one of the key points that I see that could mitigate some of the risks or make the impacts better. So I would really like to see the AI more prominent in our education and not just on the schools, because I think it is a bit contradictory because we just training the new generation of AI users, but in the security point of view, the greatest risks affects the older population of the world, because technology is already very fastly evolving, and AI is something that a lot of elderly people cannot really understand, because just think about deepfake. The dumber version of deepfake was also very effective on them, and now they not just hear or not just get the information, but hear their relative, see his or her face. So it is very dangerous, and somehow I would really like to see a very good formulated education. What is this AI? How to use it? How the criminals use it to trick you? And it would be a great win, because awareness is something that is very needed.
Thank you very much. It would be my last questions, so you could be my moderator as well. So any other questions? Yeah.
Not that I'm going to let you go easily from this panel, because I think these are very ambitious goals. Both of them are. And I think, we have failed massively in many ways, because indeed, people are, not just the older generation, but also the younger ones, don't seem to have, I don't have that sense, that they seem to have an understanding that they have a way to fight against deepfake. If they understand that there's some problem with this, but they don't have the feel that they have a means. So I think it's a big question. What would be the possibility to give them as a tool to do that, and also from the other perspective, I think I love very much data transparency and this concept. I think you're right. I agree with the goal of 100%. That's fantastic. But my God, you need an army for that, or you need, what do you need to reach that? And how can you put the resources to this? And what do you see the means to achieve that? So do you see like a fundamental, I don't know, rewriting of educational policies, or, yeah, how do you see that in a little more detailed or tangible way?
So first of all, becoming AI ready is a task for the educational system, from elementary school to PhD students. And we shall build the demand in ourselves for those goals. Nowadays, it might seem that they are nice to have things, but they must become must-have things. And to say something more concrete, more tangible, I think that we should have better legal enforcement. So when I mentioned that an AI-created video shall be recognizable with a watermark or with metadata or somehow in any technical manner, this shall be enforceable. Since it's a new piece of legislation, basically a product liability type of legislation, we don't have case law. So it will dramatically be improved in the next couple of years, according to my best beliefs and my best hopes. And also we need to raise the responsibility of platforms. Since, let's be honest, we don't watch videos because they are sent to us by email nowadays. Or at least you receive a link which leads you to a platform. So the platforms should have responsibility. They do have in legal terms, but here comes once again the enforceability. So it's not the hardness of the sanction which matters, but the 100% of legal enforceability. So the sanctions shall be proportionate, and they have to become enforced. And yeah, last but not least, the traceability of the source. So I think it's important that the no-name content creators vanish when they do something which is against the needs and the goals of the society. So we should not let anonymous malware creators to act in our society in the future. We can remember the WannaCry attack and everything else, but this has become much worse than those days. So I think that's a change in the mindset as well, and exact measures shall be taken parallelly. I'm not sure this answers the question, but at least I tried my best.
This is a very interesting aspect that you're bringing up, because on the one hand side, it is depending on the benevolence of the actors. So as long as you have and I'm making it up, but as long as you have a European-based company that is abiding the law, that is open and transparent, the world is fine. But if you have a, say, US-American actor who is a multiple billionaire and who doesn't give a dead rat's rear parts about your opinion about the law, and he says, well, I own one of the largest platforms for individual opinioning, and I want anonymous actors, and I want radical political opinions, what are you going to do?
I can answer with a question backwards. Do we believe that the self-regulation of the markets is something that can make that can be for the benefit of society? So I do believe in economic freedom and the transatlantic cooperation. That's why I'm here. But also you have to regulate the big players as well, and not just in a way that let the value chain work, but also not to act against our common goals.
You know that I'm trying to just be provocative to get it out of the way, but this is exactly the point. Do we believe that the rule of law should prevail? And for Europe, I strongly believe the answer is yes. For other actors, that might not be the case. So we are talking about their market access. We're talking about, do we allow them to spread their ideas about how it should be to Europe? Look at what the US are doing with TikTok at the very moment and trying to get control of Chinese propaganda flooding the US. And Mr. Trump desperately trying to get a sort of a handle on it. These are the same questions that Europe needs to answer. That Hungary, Germany, France, they all need to find an answer. And my true hope is it is a common answer to that.
The only answer shall be the common answer. There shall be no discrepancy in US-EU relations. I think we shall find the common answer and come to a common ground. Of course, facing with contents which are unwanted is a current phenomena. How to delete them? In one click, we won't be able to do so. And they can have proxies as well in our own system, so you don't need a Chinese system to spread those unwanted contents. That's why the rule of law, in the notion of rule of law, shall always prevail. I think that's why society and the members of society can feel safe. But on the other hand, the regulation is always technologically neutral. Of course, the notion of platforms was not around us 20 years ago. This breaks technological neutralism a bit, and there are different aspects. For example, the US aspect was to have the market liberalization aspect and wait for the European legislation to enter into effect and see what happens. But in case you follow the latest news, there are some black letter laws coming out, and there are some presidential decrees, orders that require state agencies to revise their strategies in favor of AI and to tackle those issues as well. So I think even if the cake is not ready, we know the pieces of the recipe, and we are on our best pathway to find those common answers.
Jolly good.
Thank you very much. Other questions?
If I may, if there are no other questions. So today, I think a lot of the discussion is focused on how to make really AI a sustainable part of our lives, really from a legal or an educational perspective. I think a lot of the things that you have brought up also focus on this. Coming from an environmental and climate policy background, the way that my work usually overlaps with AI is the AI factories and the major natural resources and water and energy that these investments really need. So I was wondering if, for example, in the project where we're connecting to the German supercomputer and these major projects of building a Hungarian computer as well, are these aspects frequently considered? Or are they usually more on the back burner, considering the strategic importance and increasing importance of AI?
The focus is not there usually. So what we see right now that we are basically in the beginning of the race, and all of these considerations, sadly for me, is on the back burner. But this is why we are here. So, and this is why we try to preach to because as you may know, it is always better to build from the beginning. We can say it's secure by design. There is a very trendy word in our industry. If you design the security and design these factors, not just security, but also ethical questions, safety, because this is also safety factors when it is human health or etc. comes into the play. If you build it from the beginning, it will be much more easier later on, because everybody, when we just make these changes, for example, in an industrial system, what I built a lot in my past, when there is a legislation came up, for example, this NIS2 directive, which is quite familiar for a lot of us. It's a cybersecurity related legislation. They just asked, how did you know that it will came up? Because, it always came up. If you don't work on it right now, you will have to work on it later. So maybe it's a back burner right now, but you could be more successful if you try to prioritize it current.
I will make it very concise. I do agree with your point of view. It's a fundamental right to be surrounded with a healthy environment. Healthy environment by design and default. Does it make sense? I think in a way it does, but we shall also consider that there's a global competition, and a few of our competitors do not care about an environment at such a high stake that we intend to do. And if we don't find the proper measures in how to protect environment on one hand and be technological advanced on the other, then we lose the race. And then whoever knows what comes next. So that's also a big danger. So we shall cooperate and be more crucial about environmental protection. I do agree, but it shall not hinder technological advancement.
Johannes?
I like the question especially because all the countries where I know who are trying to build AI factories, large data centers, connected data centers, which, funnily enough, in Germany is the question as well. It's not only the Jülich supercomputer, which has its own power plant in order to be firing up. Especially in the US, where I know that there are all the states competing around building or attracting AI factories. You know that Microsoft has signed a land agreement for 99 years for 3 Mile Island atomic power plant. So the only reason they did it is to build an AI factory around the atomic power plant, which is funny. We had the discussion a few minutes ago. The American grid, the power grid, is not made for huge transactions of power. So every state now is reflecting on, energy is a scarce resource. If I have to add terawatt of AI factories. And now this thinking that the US had until the 20s, that energy, we just add it. This is gone because you might be able to produce it, you're not able to transport it. And this gives a totally different angle to it. And yes, it might be true that environmental aspects might not be on the top of the priority list for the US at the very moment. But it goes hand in hand because there are 400 million people who need to have a healthy environment in order to live where this happens. So this will change the whole game. It happens on a lower scale in Europe. So the Hungarian efforts in order to connect one of the reactors of the power plant to an AI factory, the Bulgarians on that race, the Germans trying their very own way on distributed data centers to force it throughout the grid. This will change the whole thinking. And funnily enough, it will also change the way we think about environmental protection, I strongly believe. Because neither is the energy granted, nor is the priorities clear of how we define environmental protection in order to fulfill military and economic needs to provide the people with. So sorry for the lengthy answer, but
Anything to add?
I don't know how many minutes we have left, but 0? Then just in one last sentence, please keep up the good work and make us possible to have more discussions like this. Thank you so much.
So this session, the last sentence of you.
Thank you. Briefly.
So ethical and security issues we need to learn. Education is very important. We need to see the environmental as well, but also we are looking for the 100% transparency. And be careful, do not over-rely on database. So thank you very much for your attention, please.
Thank you for having us.